This brand continues to impress. I know that I say that every time, but I mean, they keep leveling it up every time. So what do you want me to say? But these guys right here, man, the light version. This isn't even the cool factor. This part is. What's going on, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and breakdown on the series player only Player One Lite version. Basically, they've revamped the Player One once again, so they started off with the original Player One model, a shoe that I infamously did not really love. And then they followed that up with the Player One Plus, a shoe that I absolutely love. And now we're on the third iteration, again, the Player One Lite version. I think that there's some things on this shoe that are great. I think the midsole is amazing. But before we deep dive into all of that stuff, we do have a quick word from today's sponsor, and that's the good folks over at Sole Premise. Now, in case you've never heard of Sole Premise, they actually offer luxury bags in a wide variety of styles. So whether you're into crossbody bags, duffels, performance duffels, day pack style backpacks, or extra large backpacks for a little bit of a longer trip, they have got you covered. All of their stuff is also TSA approved. It fits in the overhead compartments and underneath the seat in front of you. And yes, I have tried this myself. They are the only bags that I use when I travel. If you're interested in trying out Sole Premise, there is a direct link down below in our description box. Don't forget to use the promo code that you see on the screen right here. It will save you a lot. Now, with that being said, these guys came in, at least my pair, they came in the same box as all the other ones, so there's nothing really to talk about there. And I basically have two colorways of these things. So I have been playing in the white version. This one right here, I've kept dead stock because I still need to do B-roll over there and things like that. And I prefer usually to do that while the shoe's new, unless it's a performance review. This is kind of a mix of both, but not quite. So you're not going to see any on-court B-roll or anything like that, mostly because I've used these in my league games a little bit, and that floor just is
trash.
So when I use a shoe like this guy right here with the solid outsole, which is the pair that I wish that I started playing in, versus this guy right here with the translucent just doesn't grip to that particular floor very well. And when I'm in league games, I'm pretty competitive, so I'm not like trying to slip or anything like that, which is why I wish that I grabbed this one instead, but you know, whatever, dude, like, habits. Now, with that being said, the shoe itself obviously got a little bit of a remake, but we were first going to talk about the thing that stayed the same, which is the outsole. And I think that this is great because I love this outsole. That was the part that I really didn't like besides the overall fit of the original Player One model. The original outsole, while impressive in the sense that it gripped indoors really well, it was just super soft and a bit too, I guess, thin, where the rubber compound just wasn't very durable, both indoors and outdoors. They've changed all of that with this newer outsole right here that they introduced on the original Player One Plus, and they decided to keep it the same on the Player One Lite version, which I think is a good move. I think that something like this, like the traction, which is the foundation of a basketball shoe, like if this part doesn't work well, it doesn't matter how good the rest of it is, you're probably not going to pick them up and put them in your gym bag. The support clip that they have right here is the same as well as from the Player One Plus, which I also think is a good move. It's a lateral kind of like support piece. Essentially, it's so that you don't over twist this section. This actually doesn't even have the midsole in it right now, and you can see that just by twisting it, this portion right here is firm. So that's a good move. It's good torsion support in addition to the plate that they have right here. That is something that they actually did change up, where the original model features the carbon plate right there, and then the light version features a P-Bax plate. So a little bit of a lighter material, but just as strong, which is awesome. Now the cushion is where I think that the model really shines. Luckily, the cushion is not going to be exclusive to the model, but these models will come with this cushion option in general. But I have heard that they are planning to sell these midsoles separately, so there's that. And that's this bad boy right here. This is their Quick 2.0 midsole. This, I think, is their best insole. It's bar none my favorite at this point. And previously, it was these guys, which is basically an EVA setup, a very dense EVA setup. But then you've got little pods of cushion right there at the ball of the foot and the heel, which I thought was perfect. This is their original Quick midsole, and this is just straight up EVA. So this is not anything special. So the Quick 2.0 midsole in comparison to their original is way better. How is this compared to their explosive midsole? Personally, I think that this is better. The explosive midsole is an eTPU, whereas this midsole right here is an ATPU. I have basically from foam-well.com just a little bit of insight as far as like what it is. This is not the manufacturer of their midsoles to my knowledge, but they are a manufacturer of ATPU foams. So their explanation is that ATPU is a supercritical foaming, light and high elastic type of material. You can actually feel that in hands. Like basically this thing right here is bouncy as but it's also extremely durable. So the way that it feels now is the way that it should feel a little bit later down the line. Whereas when you have something like an EVA like this does break down over time, bottoms out, if you will, where these portions right here, which are eTPU, will last a little bit longer. Now I'm gonna read their exact wording right here, and hopefully everybody is gonna be okay with that. But basically, ATPU is a microcellular aliphatic, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, TPU foam. So basically, this foam right here starts off as fucking plastic. To me, that's just amazing. Produced using aliphatic TPU as the substrate with a clean supercritical carbon dioxide as the blowing agent to form a large number of microcells in the matrix.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible.
Again, sounds kind of weird, it's a little bit confusing, but basically there's no chemicals used to use this stuff. It's all kind of like natural, if you will. Like obviously the plastic isn't, but the way that they make it into foam is. So it's not a chemical compound or a makeup, which is really interesting. So it means that it's a slightly cleaner material. And again, it is more comfortable, it lasts longer. It's weird. Basically what this does is makes a lightweight, clean, and environmentally friendly, good cushioned performance. It's excellent with low temperature resistance, good chemical resistance, and reusable, meaning that it's outstanding resilience. So it's, again, it's durable. Now, when you move on down their website and everything like that, like their explanation, I like that they actually have a visual on this one. So they give it to you, and not like the perfect visual representation in terms of like they're showing you how it's manufactured, but it is a good little visual in the sense that if you needed something like this, it's like, oh, okay, that's what it looks like. But basically it says, what supercritical foaming? Known as chemical-free foaming or physical foaming, this process combines CO2 or nitrogen with polymers to create a foam. So if you want to go back to the supercritical aspect, this stuff right here doesn't quite look like the other supercritical foam. Like if you're going over to Puma, the nitro, what do they call it? Nitrocell, whatever, I don't know, nitro foam, where it looks like packing peanuts just like blown up and more dense because they're using a different type of plastic in there with the nitrogen. So it's kind of got a different visual. It makes it look very porous, like it looks weird, versus this looks solid. Similar properties though. No compounds are created and no chemical additives are required. Eliminating toxic or hazardous chemicals typically used in the foaming process. This minimizes environmental risks during production and results in a non-toxic end product. So again, it's very, very interesting. There are other companies using very similar stuff. It feels, if I'm going to compare it to anything, kind of like Zoom X, but not as soft. You know what I mean? Like Zoom X like definitely bottoms out, and this hasn't done so yet. So yeah, I thought that all of that stuff was very interesting, especially if you're a nerd like me and you wanted to know certain things. There you go. One of the cool things about this is that they also added a little arch support plate right here because, you know, this is a softer foam, and the arch foam right here is actually a regular EVA. So that's a little bit more dense. Can you feel it while your foot's in there? Yes and no. You feel it in the sense that it is there, but you don't feel it in the sense of like an arch plate like you would with something like an orthotic or a different insole like a Move insole. This feels much more neutral, and it just kind of feels like it's there to make sure that you don't kind of like invert like that. It's preventing this so that your knees don't collapse on you and stuff like that, or your ankles, then your knees. So I think that this is slick, man. This is something that I just love. I love to see all of these different versions all with one shoe or shoe company and completely compatible with one another. So again, if you don't love the light version, but you love the Player One Plus, or maybe you don't love either of those and you love the Game One or the Easy One or whatever it is that they offer, you could slap this midsole into any of them. And one thing to note with this drop-in is that they do have a liner right here, which is not featured on the majority of their midsoles. Most of them look like this. They're just straight up foam. And this one's not like that. So if you prefer this, then here you go. Now the upper is definitely the thing that has the most visual change when you're comparing them to one another. Obviously Player One Plus has a little bit more going on than the light version, but the light version is no slouch. It's not like missing anything. In fact, you could see everything, which is probably the weirdest part about the shoe, is that all of its components are completely visible. So you can see that the upper itself is made up of a very thin TPU, aka plastic, and then they've thickened it up in certain sections like the eye stay area to give it some strength, but then they've also switched up the eye stay area a little bit where it's not as, I guess, traditional as the original right here, where it's just holes punched throughout the upper. This one actually alternates, so you do still have the really great flex joint right there at the toe, which I love, and then you do have traditional lacing down there, which I also love, so you can customize that fit a bit. But then the midfoot section, they switch things up and they've got nylon bands that actually go all the way down to the strobel right there. So this goes to the strobel, and then you would put your midsole on top of that. And that is on both sides. So you've got basically like lockdown fingers right there at the midfoot, and then at the collar, they go back to the traditional setup. The tongue is a little bit more lightweight and everything like that as well. It's a little bit more of an open-celled foam than the original version. So for those of you guys that prefer all of these kind of aspects to your footwear, then here you go. This is just another option for them, or basically another option for you to choose from their brand. One of the more interesting features, actually, the back heel right here. There is an internal heel counter and everything. It's not quite as strong as the original right here, or I wouldn't even call this the original, but the Player One Plus. This one is definitely more substantial, but it's got a really cool look where it's got this like weird bubbly look. I just think that it looks nice. One thing that I would critique on these in comparison to the Player One Plus is actually the rear sculpting right here. That's on the inside of the shoe. This one's just a little bit thinner. Obviously, you're trying to keep things a little bit lighter and less cumbersome, but I do prefer the sculpting that's on this model right here. It just fits my foot, my heel, my Achilles area a little bit nicer than these do. I have to wear very specific socks with these, otherwise I feel like I'm slipping a little bit. Even though both shoes run the exact same, they are both true to size, so whatever you typically wear, that is what I would go with. If you're a wide footer, consider going up half a size, but just know that these are all low tops. So if you go up half a size from your true size, just because you're trying to accommodate for a wide foot, you're gonna mess with the length, and so therefore you might get some heel slip issues. And now the part where some of you guys might be the most interested to see if these are actually lighter than the other version. So I've got this one emptied out. There's no stuffing, putting it right on here. 10.64 ounces. Same thing with the Player One Plus. No midsole, no stuffing. 10.43 ounces. So far, these are actually slightly lighter than these. So I'm wondering if the lightweight aspect truly comes from the new Quick 2.0 midsole paired with the upper itself. So this might be a wrong comparison, but we're just gonna do it anyway since we're here. Strength system is, let's see, 2.31 ounces. Their original Quick system, geez, that's heck of lightweight, 1.75. And then their new Quick 2.0, and there you go, 1.54. So I believe it's the midsole paired with the overall shoe is gonna make this shoe the lightest version. However, if you take this out and you put it in these, that now makes this the lightest version. Now I know that these guys aren't available quite yet. I believe that they're gonna be available sometime in February, possibly early February, but I could be wrong. I don't know that for 100% fact. That's just what I've been hearing. Now with all of that being said, do we happen to have time for a question of the day? I know that these videos sometimes can get long.
It's okay, this should be quick. Have you ever read the Marvel versus DC comics? I feel like nobody knows about them, do you?
Yes, and they're not the best, but they're fun, especially when we were kids. That's when it came out, was when I was a kid. If I look back on it and the storylines now, again, not the best, not like some of the newer crossovers, like the newer crossover stuff, like Batman and TMNT. Awesome. What was the other one? It was Justice League versus the Power Rangers. Really awesome. I will say that one of my favorite things to come out of the Marvel versus DC or DC versus Marvel or whatever the anybody wants to call it was the amalgam stuff. That was fun, where they mixed characters together like Batman and Wolverine. I think his name was Darkclaw or something like that. My goodness, that's cool. But what about you guys? Do you even know about the DC and Marvel crossover comics from the 90s? Did you not even know that they combined the characters? That's for one, just mind-blowing, especially nowadays, but even back then, oh my gosh, when we were kids.
That was totally wicked!
And on top of all of that, what do you think about the Player One Lite version? Do you think that this is something that maybe you'd be interested in playing in? Or is it just the Quick 2.0 midsole that you're interested in? Either way, they are coming soon. So sound off below and let us know. Thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate you guys hanging out with us. This, I can't even tell you, means the world to me. So the fact that you're here, especially right now at this moment, thank you so much. I will catch you guys on the next one. So until then, you guys have a good one.